Welcome back, Nick Lenz. This movie, episode number 129. This one I'm reviewing the overall. I'm trying to think. This is the fourth film, of Phase Two, and overall the 10th film released. Released only 5 years ago, and yes, I saw this film in theater. This is Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume One. Why did I refer to as Volume One? This one on the cover says, well, it's retroactively referred to as Volume One because the second film is called Volume Two. Yep, that's what the second film was called, Volume 2. Now, pretty much, do we have any returning actors in this movie? Yes, we have only two. We have the Collector, who is played by, she showed up post-credit scene for Thor: The Dark World. He's played by Benicio del Toro. Yeah, he's making his second, and he makes one appearance after this in Infinity War, and that's the last I see of him. And they also bring his assistant from the post credit scene. There's one other person who's up in here, and that's the other. He appears for a brief scene, and I'll talk about what happened to him. This film has got like a boatload of new characters that you have make their first ever live action appearance. We have Star-Lord, played by Chris Pratt. We have Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana. Batista, played by, Drax, played by former WWE wrestler Dave Batista, which this is what basically basically playing this character got him to be in the film Spectre, which came out the following year. We also have Groot, voiced by the awesome Vin Diesel. Rocket Raccoon, voiced by Academy Award nominee Bradley Cooper. We also have John C. Reilly playing one of the Nova Corps members, the Nova Corps Prime, played by Glenn Close. Yes, Glenn Close. We also have Ronan the Accuser, played by Lee Pierce. Nebula, played by Karen Gillan. Yeah, she's from the show Doctor Who, where she played Amy Pond. There is one character that makes a return here, but not the same actor, and it's Thanos. He appears for a brief scene. And this is the first time we see Josh Brolin play the character. First of 4 times he plays the character. He returns in the following film, and he also returns. He returns in the Avengers film. He appears like the next 3 Avengers films. 2 of whom he plays a big role in. The second one he basically plays a small role in it. Yeah, and this film is also notorious for the live action debut. Also, Yondu is in this movie. Yes. Yondu, the future Guardians of the Galaxy. Though this is a past version, where he's in regular day, present day, instead of being from the future. Yeah, he's still the same species, and here's kind of the interesting thing. The Yondu of 616 has met the one from the Guardians of the Galaxy, but the one from the 31st century. Yeah, they actually just met in the first issue of the Yondu miniseries, which actually came out just this past week. And basically, what Marvel did after this version show up here in this film, they actually brought him into the regular comic universe. Make his first appearance in the relaunch of Star-Lord, written by Sam Humphries, which he has the look he has in this movie. He has like a thin fin on his head, not like the fin he has in the comic. We'll talk about that when I talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And his subordinate was played by Sean Gunn, who is James Gunn's brother. Yeah, the film's named after James Gunn. Yes. It's by far the first time I've seen he's actually done. And this is only I think the second film he's ever directed. Yeah. Because I know for a fact that after the second film came out, I think it was just about a year or 2 ago, we had the actor get fired from Marvel, and then he got rehired in less than a year. Of course, the guy is also coming up with the 3rd volume for this movie, which is coming out sometime in the future, and the Suicide Squad, which he did both of them. Yeah, and believe it or not, the first time he ever worked on, well, as a director, was Slither. Yeah, he only did 2 films prior to this one. He did Slither and Super, and that's it. After this film, he did Volume 2, and of course, he's only directed let's see, 3, 4, 5. Overall, he's only directed 6 films. This is only his 3rd film he's ever directed. I gotta say, for a guy who's only directed 2 films prior to this, he does a really good job with a lot of character stuff in this movie. So the film starts off with Star-Lord just putting his headphones in, dancing, fighting, getting his way. He's acting like Indiana Jones in here, though he's also kind of like Han Solo in a way. So he's dancing around, listening to 80s music on a Walkman. Yes, a Walkman. And he comes across this object in this orb. This is later revealed to be the Power Stone of the Infinity Gems. Yes. This is overall the... If I remember... Oh, I almost forgot to mention my... I will talk about the post-credit scene in that one. I'll talk about what happened the first post-credit scene for Captain America Soldier, and I'll talk about the next MCU film, Age of Ultron. Yeah. So, he meets up with this guy from the Kree who, by the way, this character does return for Captain Marvel. Played with the same actor, of course. So, he just was like, hey, what's my name? Name's Star. He's like, who? Yeah, Starlet's my name. And he starts shooting, gets out of there. And then he just hops in his ship. He's also really part of the Ravengers. Yes, the Ravengers. That's where he gets his outfit from. And his ship formerly did belong to the Ravengers. And apparently he has a lover on board the ship. A woman who only appears for this one scene, and then she never appears again. And he goes to Nowhere. Yes, that's the name of the place, Nowhere. Making its first live-action appearance. Yes. Because this is based upon the Dan Abbott Andy Lanning version of the group, not the original version made back in the 60s. Now, who created each one of these characters? Steve Englehart created Star-Lord. Drax and Gamora and Thanos were created by Jim Starlin. Rocket Raccoon was created by Bill Mantlo and Keith Giffen. Groot was created by was Groot, Ronan. Yeah, I think it was Groot, Ronan, the Kree. Yeah, and of course the Collector who appears in the movie. Yeah, all four of these characters are created by Stan Lee and Jack the King Kirby. Yeah, as for the Nova characters, they're mostly a creation of Marv Wolfman. Yeah, Marv Wolfman created these characters. The characters from Nova Corps and the planet Xandar. So, actually, they go to nowhere first. They go to Xandar first, which that's apparently where they get arrested, and then of course, well, because he basically Star-Lord tries to auction up what he stole to this guy he meets on Xandar. By the way, Xandar is one of the most strangest planets I have ever seen. It's like it's like a mixture between about 5 or 6 alien species, and apparently the Xandarians basically ended a recent war with the Kree. Yeah, and despite their treaty, Ronan does what the heck he wants. Yeah, as far as I know, they don't really give an explanation of why he's allowed to do whatever the heck he wants. I mean, you get more exploration of the Kree in the Captain Marvel movie. In this film, you barely get into anything into the characters at all. For one thing, the Kree are not blue-skinned. Yeah, this is something by far never been explained. Like, Ronan is blue-skinned. But if you see the Kree who appear in Captain Marvel, they look perfectly like normal humans. I'll talk more about Captain Marvel when I talk about the film itself. And yes, Ronan does appear for a return for that film, though it's a past version of the character. And he's there for a small appearance. So, he basically puts on the makeup, he's still referred to as the Accuser, and I appreciate that they actually have his hammer. Oh, by the way, does he whack in people with a hammer? The answer is, yes he does. He whacks a ambassador for the... He whacks a diplomat from Xandar. Yep, he kills this person by whacking him in the head with his hammer. And I'm so glad he gets a chance to use the damn thing, because he has it. He does his little posturing he's overdoing whenever he accuses people, but he's not necessarily an accuser. He's basically credited as Ronan the Accuser, which is a name he basically used frequently in the comic books. But he's never directly referred to, he's never acted like, what he does in the comics, where he accuses people of some things. I mean, he does accuse the Xandarians of killing his father, yes. But aside from that, not really, no. Yeah, he's credited as Ronan the Accuser, but not much else to him. Not really, no. That's kind of the strange thing about this character. Eventually she's asked by Thanos to meet with him in this strange place. Where this place is, I have no idea. And also, how the heck can Thanos breathe in space? I get the fact he's a Titan. He's from the, like in the comic. He's from Jupiter's moon of Titan. In the movies, Titan is a regular planet, which you feel a flashback of Infinity. Yeah, it's particularly very weird. So they have a brief conversation. The other tries to interrupt Ronan, and he gets his neck snapped for his efforts. And that's let's see the other because he doesn't return after this because he's dead. Thanos is like, whatever. I'll find new subordinates. He never does. Well, he finds new subordinates, the Black Order, who make the debut in Infinity War, which I'll talk about that when I get to Infinity War. As for the Guardians themselves, well, most of them meet up on Xandar. They get into a brief street brawl, and they all get arrested. Now, I get why Star-Lord got arrested, and of course Rocket and Groot, because well, they kind of started the fight. Gamora had no reason, and apparently John C. Reilly's character apparently had arrested Star-Lord before, so he knows who he is. And they're heading off to a prison, and they let the people safe. Now, Star-Lord, his real name is revealed to be Peter Jason Quill. Now, he's partially named after his father. I'm glad the fact they kept his full name for the movie. I'm so happy with that because in the comics, his father is a freaking dick in the comics. He's a terrible person. Yeah, he's the emperor of the strange looking species are human-like. Yeah, though they retcon who they change who his father is in the movies. Yep. For Gamora, they do mention she's Thanos' daughter. Rocket, just basically a guy with a gun, and they refer to Groot as Rocket's houseplant / muscle. Okay? Oh, in case you're wondering, now in the comics, when he first showed up, Groot actually wore clothes. In the movie, he never wears anything at all because it's a walking tree. Then later on meet up with Drax. Yes, who's at this prison. What the heck he's accused of? Well, no idea. And he eventually does steal the knives from another prisoner to become eventually his signature weapons. These special daggers that he has. And Drax is freaking hilarious in the movies. I appreciate, though, I heard something that Dave Bautista had to sit still for about a few hours to have all this makeup put on him. Him and Zoe Saldana basically had to go through this. And it's absolutely fantastic. The fact they actually had the balls to actually do this. So, oh yeah, and here's something interesting though. Apparently, male and female prisoners are allowed to interact with each other for just no explained reason at all. And they're able to do what the heck they want. So Groot basically, they hatch a plan to escape. And of course, they mention what they need to do, of course, stealing a leg. And well, they do eventually escape prison, but they also have it where apparently one of the guards actually stole Star-Lord's Walkman, but he does get it back anyways. From the guy. And in case you're wondering, does he, now this is what I'm going to cover, he has the space guns, which he's never had in the comics. Does he, in case you're wondering, does he put on his helmet he wears in the comics? The answer is yes, but it doesn't cover up top his head. It only covers his face and most of his head. Yeah, it's particularly very weird, which this look for the character would appear. Now, his look he had for them with the long coat and the style of mask he has, this look would actually make his comic book debut in the first issue of Legendary Star-Lord. Yes, which was released prior to this movie, and Rocket's got his own comic for this movie. Now, in case you're wondering, did any other Guardians get their own comic books before and after this movie? In the case of Drax, he actually has had his own book, a miniseries, though he did eventually get an ongoing series not long after the release of this film. It was written by Colin Bunn and CM Punk. Fantastic comic book, got canceled, there's only 11 issues. Gamora did get a comic, but it was delayed several times. It was written by one of the writers of this film, who was James Gunn, not James Gunn, it's the woman who wrote it. Yeah, she wrote the comic. Really? She wrote it? Okay. Yeah, the other writer for this film is Nicole Perlman. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she also, believe it or not, wrote the Gamora comic, which was a very short-lived comic. It lasted about 5 issues. Rocket's had several comics over the years. Yeah, Star-Lord eventually started, well, first he had Legendary Star-Lord, then Star-Lord, and then he had Kitty Pryde and Star-Lord, done by the same person, and then after that he had the Chip Zdarsky. He had the Chip Zdarsky book, and looks like I'm going to have to basically put this in hold because I have the code. Yep. So yeah, part 2 later, okay? 2 6, so I see you there. Bye.